Hiya, John here again for a Wednesday afternoon. Blustery, cold, not very nice, but there we go. That's life, isn't it? Especially this time of year. Right, we're going to start with the lighthouse again. We're going to move into part 3 of this, and we're going to have a look at the brick wall, and we're going to have a look at the houses, and we're going to build them up in front of the lighthouse, and then maybe after that we'll look at the foreground, which should be very simple. Now, off camera I have been doing a little bit of work, not a lot. What I have been doing is just refining the colours in the lighthouse and refining the shape of it, using well, sometimes a pencil, but more often than not a broken pastel. Now, right at the beginning of all this, I said to you, break a pastel, didn't I? And to me, that's one of the most important things, if I'm being perfectly honest, breaking a pastel, because you can't work with a big chunky crayon like they normally are. Now, in the old days, I used to use a Dale Rowney vintage ones, and I have thousands of them now, but you can't get them anymore. So that was good back in the day. Back in the day, how old am I? But anyway, they're nearly all chunky now. I can't find any slimmer ones. So I use these and I break them, as I told you. Now, there are points in time where you are using smaller areas and you want a smaller piece of pastel. Now, again, break them into a chunk, which I will show you. Well, yeah, I've broken these into chunks, okay, and then cut them down the center of that chunk. Now, I'm going to try and come to the camera a bit. Right, you can see that it's a semicircle. Now, I've broken that into a chunk and then I've cut it down the center. That gives me nice, sharp, clean edges and smaller bits with which to do smaller detail for edging and for things like stippling on top of trees and things like that. And that works just as well as a slimmer type pastel. So cut it again, or break it and then cut it, I should say, and that will give you just what you want, and you'll be elated with that. Don't try to work in the big chunky pastels all of the time. Do it as much as you can, but you're going to need to break and cut them. I mean, I have little tiny balls of pastel that I just use to stipple with when the time's right. And if I can't get to use them, say it's for argument's sake it's a blue, I'll just get that onto the piece of paper and I'll press it into the paper and use that as a piece of pastel. Nothing's wasted. So, you know, I mean, here's a little tiny chunk. I suppose at some point in time I'll probably use that. You never know. Look, all my pastels, all broken, all small, tiny little bits. But then I do work with bigger chunks as well. So don't be afraid to break them. That will be advantageous to you. So without any further ado, I'm now going to get on with doing the brick walls and the houses. I will be using a pencil for this to get the really fine and minute details of the windows and the chimney pots. And maybe possibly then underlining the top of the terracotta part of the brick wall. But this will be very simple and hopefully a bit quicker. So take a good look at the lighthouse, see how it's all straightened out, see how I've worked it in, I've worked the colours in. Keep going until you're happy, because you can put colour upon colour, and it will take you quite a long time, especially on the Sennelier a la carte board. Having said that, I'm using pastel matte today, which is absolutely fantastic. And it will take you a long time to fill that too for the paper up with such small areas. Anyway, without any further ado, again, I'm going to carry on with that. So I'll catch. Okay, so as you can see, I think I might have started this in the last video. I've started on the houses. Now what that was a case of me getting a small piece of pastel and again just blocking it in Alright, just getting colour on there. Okay, I used the Pinot Noir pencil to put the roofs in. Okay, and block that in. I then used a dark blue small piece of pastel again to just block in the shadow side of the houses. And now I'm just going to carry on with that. Behind this house, it would have been in the original drawing, is actually a tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow a green grey colour from another set. That was on those smaller Daler roundy ones I was telling you about. And I'm going to just draw in the tree. So it's actually on the end here. So I'm going to put in the base colour for all the trees, in fact. So just stippling the colour into the shape that it needs to be. You'll find that by doing this, that will push your house forward. It will also clean up edges, which will all be cleaned up again anyway, because I mean pastel's a messy old thing to be using. So but don't go outside of the lines. Try and keep it inside of where you need to be, because if you go too far you're only going to have to cover it over again, and we don't want to have to keep doing that, because that'll only just make things go dirty and horrible. So it's a case of just getting this in here, slowly but gradually building up the shape to where you need it. And then I'm moving along to the other ones that are here. There's a nice little round one there and a nice little round one towards the end of the brick wall. Okay, now I'm just sort of kind of blocking everything in at the moment. Trying not to get too over anxious on the detail, so I can just feather things out here if I want, just to make it look like there's little leaves. Bring that right out to the house. I mean, just touching the pastel on the paper, the tooth of the paper will just take bits off like that, and it is fantastic for getting the illusion of detail. Now some of that green comes over onto this brick wall, so I'm just going to bring that over there. We've got some bush going on here, so I'll just put that in. And then there's a bush here, you can see, because I've left it an area where it should be. So we'll block that in. Everything look very dark and very dank at the moment, but we've got to layer colour on top of this. It's a bit like oil painting in a way. So we've got the conservatory part of the lighthouse here, and then we've got trees here. You can see by just stippling I'm getting the illusion. And then you can see I've drawn a tree here, so we'll stipple that in, stipple the edges in, and once you've stippled the edges in and you're happy with the shape and the size of it, all you need to do literally is just block it in. You know, don't be frightened of it. But at the same time, don't go all guns blazing, because you need to be careful with it, because if you're not, it's just not going to look right. Now I could tell you that that bit there is a little bit too high, but I will alter that as I need to, and obviously we're doing the whole painting to a finish, and I will show you how to do that. Okay, so there's more bushes along here. As you can see, I've drawn them in. I hope you can see that on the screen. There's a slightly higher bush here. Now you're getting the background to the landscape in effect. Alright, and you can just stipple on top of them shapes to make it look very leafy. So there's a shape here. Alright, now all that can be refined and shaped even better after we start putting colour in. Now along the front here and along this brick wall there are areas of green, so I'm just going to, it's just where the grass is growing up. It's not as deep as that, but I'm just touching in a little bit of green just so that I know it's there, and that bush comes over there like that, I believe. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a kind of a terracotta, and I'm just going to edge the top part of this wall. Just like that, just a straight line. Okay, I'm getting in all the basics for my way forward, basically. Alright, so, and that will push the houses back and make them seem as if they're behind the brick wall. I'm now going to get an umber colour. Now the brick wall here actually bends, right? Now we're going to have to get the illusion of that bending. So what I'm going to do is put in a darker grey here, and as we progress you'll see how we will do that. So I'm just blocking everything in. It's all very messy, nothing to worry about. Blocking that in. So that's the brick wall in front of all them bushes. Alright, so we just need to block in, basically. That's the brick wall. There's the other side of the brick wall going into the distance. Alright, so that side will be lightened. This side will stay dark because that's off the shadow side, as you can see. Alright, so I put a platform on which to paint, and then I refine it. That's basically all this is, all the time. Obviously you're going to have to keep blowing your dust off. Okay, so now I can start refining these shapes again. And this won't be the last time I'll refine them, but now you can see darkness against light. Right? Now what I'm also going to do is to get a darker colour, in this case black. Now I would normally use a pastel for this, but I've got this pencil handy and I haven't got a black pastel handy, so I'm just going to block it in. I'm going to do the shadow side of this bush. Now you can see a mistake there. Now this is good because this helps. Right, I've now gone on with this pencil, which is this Conte crayon, but it's, instead of putting the colour on, it's actually rubbed it off. So it means it's too hard for the soft pastel that I'm applying. So all I do is go back into it, and what I will have to do now, rather than using that pencil, is to find something a lot softer. So it's going to have to be a pastel. So I'm just going to find a black pastel, and then I'll show you how to do that. And that's how. So now I've got one of the SAA black pastels. Now I'm going to tell you, these are not the blackest pastels I've seen. They're quite very, very dark grey, but they will give me what I want in this case. So what I need to do is to put some colour in to get the depth areas of these trees. Okay, just a little bit of black. So I've got really dark green grey here, then I've got black just to get to the darker areas. Put a little bit of black in there and just soften it in. Soften it in. Okay, so what we've got is we've got a really dark value, then we've gone to even darker for the depths, and then from there we will start building up the lights. We've got all the darkness we need, we just have to start building up the lights. And that's the same with the houses, and effectively the same with the lighthouse and everything. You can put the darks on and start building up the lights, or you can start with the lights, then darken it, and then build that back up to where you need the light showing. So there and there, and you'll have a mixture of the colours. Okay, so I've now got that, and the way forward is to get the appropriate colour, building up to the lightest colour, okay, and maybe just add in some kind of olive and build up your leaves. Alright, now you can see that, hopefully you can see that's slightly lighter than the value that we've got underneath. Okay, but the best way to show you is for me to get a very light value, broken bit of pastel, okay, and I'm going to just show you how you can just make the trees. So just stipple, stipple, alright, stipple. If you want it more intense, just dab a little bit harder, leaving dark areas. Okay, now here is going to be light with the house, because I'm going to put some grey on there. But you're just stippling, and I have some of them yellows coming out into the sunshine, and stipple, stipple, stipple. Okay, now this is very basic, but it's showing you the way forward. Stipple, stipple, stipple. Now the best thing to do, and I would advise this very strongly, is where you get two different bushes and trees, to find different colours of your yellow greens. Okay, now if you do that, you'll have the sense or the illusion of depth. Okay, now that's different to that. Alright, and if you push harder with your yellow greens, you can also get brighter highlights too. But you'll always end up with the areas of that dark green grey showing through, so it looks like leaves are on top of the depth of the tree. You just stipple this in. Alright, oh, sometimes pushing harder, sometimes pushing lighter. Now you can use the light of this to your advantage against the darkness of the shadow areas by just pushing a little bit harder or dabbing a little bit harder, stippling. Okay. Right. Now, no matter what, this can all be refined. You just get your blending tool, wherever that may be. There is it. Let me find it. And you can just have the darker areas of the tree like that. Okay, so you can soften some of these yellows so they look like they're further in the depths of the trees, or you can rub them out altogether even. Alright, different yellows, different yellow greens, and then when you come to that point that you want to really put the highlights in, you just press just a little bit harder. Alright, and you'll find that your pastels should hopefully feel quite soft at this point, because they get working on top of other pastel. Right, so you can see that I've got a shadow area and a darker area, and it's the same colour at this point actually, just blending out into the light. Right, now where you've got the darker areas and you've shaped the darker areas into the tree, right, you can then just get yourself a darker green. Okay, maybe an olive green, maybe not quite an olive green, and you can just touch that into the darker areas so it looks as if the light is just catching some of these darker areas. Okay, but then right back in the depths of the tree you need to be going really dark. So I'm going to show you that again. We're going to just do this little bush here. Okay, so I'm just going to put in a little piece of green grey. Okay, see how this is going to change. I mean, I've got to sort out all the houses yet. I'm putting in a little bit of black with that green grey to make it really dark there. Okay, just softening that in, shaping this with my shaper if I want to. Okay, or with my stump I should say. Now watch this. Okay, you've got dark there, reasonably dark there, and I'm now going to go on with this light, and that's going to bring this bush to life. Stipple, stipple, stipple. There's a dark shadow there, but ensuring all the time that I'm getting dark against light. Okay, so I can just stipple that all in there, get some lighter areas by just pressing just a tiny little bit harder, and then just shaping the tree to get the darker and mid-darker areas. So there we go, there's the darker areas underneath and this side, which corresponds with the dark side of the lighthouse. Now if that is a dark side, it has to be against a light side. Now there is a little house here and I've blocked that in blue, and I shouldn't have done. So I just need to lighten this side up because it is this side of the houses. Never have two darks against each other because they just won't show up. Okay. So that was a mistake I made in the initial drawing stage. So there we go, we'll lighten that up and we'll just put the edge of that roof on, which will be quite dark, with my pencil. Yeah, it's starting to make sense now. That side. Here's the darker side of the house. Okay, and we just soften that in with my blender. So just soften that in so it becomes shadowy rather than just blotchy. Okay, now we've got the light side against the dark side of this. Okay, now what you will be able to do against that light side is to put in some dark leaves that are protruding over the area. And you can put in the darker values of the shaded side of the tree, and then if you need to, you can just go back over with your yellow again, just to get some more highlights onto the highlighted leaves wherever they might be. Okay, now that shadow area will be blended down and it will then give you this area. If you want a stronger yellow, perhaps just push a little bit harder with your pastel. Hopefully it should feel quite creamy at this point. It's quite a nice feeling actually. So look, you can see how it's brightened that up. It gives you the highlights going out into the brightest areas. Okay. And if you want to accentuate them even more, what you can do is you can go back in with your black pastel, or you can use your pencil just to shape some areas. And you can put branches going up, miss the highlighted areas, and then you can just, if you want to, highlight them. But I'm not really sure what to do there. That's just going maybe a little bit too far on this occasion. But there we go, you're seeing how easy I'm putting this right. I'm putting in the dark again and just stippling over the yellows, shaping each part of this tree to what I want it to be. And if I want a brighter highlight, I'm just pushing just a little bit more deliberately, a little bit harder. Okay, now the detail hasn't got to be excessive here, it's just got to make sense. So just put that on there, get it over on the light side, so you can separate two bushes like that just by stippling in. Now a good idea, like I said earlier, was to have two greens. And that will give you the sense of depth, because them two yellows together are not going to make a great deal of sense. Okay, now if you want to get some shadow areas in here, you can just use your blender to just blend little areas out where the sun is hitting these branches and then not hitting the branches quite so far back. It'll be down towards the bottom mainly, and areas that are out of the sun. And that's how you do it. And then you just reinforce your house against the dark of the tree. And that will really stand out. And you can use your blender to just shape that. A bit like moving oil paint about, I should think. Not that I do oil painting, because I don't. Okay, so using my blender a bit like a paintbrush on this occasion. Making sure that the darkest areas against the light areas. And using the colour that's on the blender at points. Okay, and just using it a bit like a painting brush, really. Just make sure, above all, that your highlights are on the correct side and your dark areas are also on the correct side. And you'll have separation of the bushes. And again, like I said, you can just shape these. If you find that you're not really getting the values you want, you can just go back in with a dark pencil or a dark pastel and just put in some lighter areas, darker areas. You always want light against dark. Always, always, always light against dark. Even if it's a mid-light or a mid-dark. Always needs to be against it. Because if you don't, nothing will stand out. Won't make any sense. Alright. You can be a bit more deliberate with your little pieces of pastel. Shaping things how you want them shaped. Pressing a little bit harder when you want a stronger highlight. And in this case, where I've gone a bit too far, all I do is just blend it down. All this will mix together. And I want to separate that tree from that tree. The best thing to do separating trees is to have two different colours. On this occasion I've used the same colour. But you can just put highlights over the dark to separate the dark and the light areas. And that way it looks like extra or different pieces of the tree in different areas. So that's basically how you keep building up. Now you can keep using the same colours, but make sure that you separate them by other colours. Now I will change that. I won't have all this yellow going on here. I'll probably have that one yellow, and then I'll probably come in with a different grade of yellow for these two, just to make them look different, because we don't want them all the same, because that just won't make any sense whatsoever. Alright, and also take notice that when your colours are against other colours, they will look different as well. Okay, so that actually helps you sometimes to get that sense of depth. Different colours, different highlights, and you'll get what you want. And then you can shape things with your shaper, or you can go back to your pastels or your pencils and put in some areas. Alright, you can even use a dark pencil to put a tree trunk in, just on a couple of indications of some branches if you wanted to. Not necessary in this case, because this is quite a small piece of work. So I'm going to just reinforce my roof. I will be coming onto that roof with a blue-grey colour and getting the highlight size, which will be there. It won't be this side, but I will use some of that highlight to carry on into sorry, went quiet then, into the area that I need. Okay, so let's just show you how to get this roof. Okay, so I've got a dark against the tree there, so I'm using a light blue grey and I'm drawing in. Okay, I'm drawing in the shape of the roof where the highlights are. Okay, skimming over and then using my blender to just shape things a bit so it becomes a grey rather than a black. Manipulation, that's what it's called. Okay, and if you're not happy with what you see, you just go over again until you get it as bright or as dark as you need it to be. Okay. All looks very messy. It's all a work in progress. Just don't worry about it. It will come right. Okay, the darker areas underneath the eaves. A darker area here where this roof is. In shadow, because there's two houses there you can see, and we just need to separate that by putting in a drain pipe. That's how easy you would separate that. Putting in the darkness of the tree. Straightening that edge. Right, just going to put in a roof, a chimney. Funny looking chimneys on these. I'm going to use my pencil. I could use a sharp piece of pastel if I wanted, but hey, do what's easiest. You will see that I'm putting all these colours in and it looks a mess. I know that, I know, and you're probably thinking, what is this guy doing? And I wouldn't blame you. But believe me, it all comes together eventually. So I've got a bit of a chimney going on here. Now that dark of that chimney pushes the lighthouse back. Now you might find, as there, I've gone out a bit too far. There are things I can do to alter that, and that's just by drawing over with pastel, or by pulling it out with blue tack, perhaps, possibly. So dark under the eaves, nice bit of darkness into the shaping, whatever you need shaped. Now what I have done is I've come a bit too short with my white here. Now all I need to do literally is to draw over there, or I could remove some of that black and then draw over there, but in this case I'm just going to draw over there because I think that will work. Okay. This is the light side of the houses. Broken off piece of pastel. And then just cut off the pastel you don't want by shaping it with your pencil or with your blender. Using your pencil to come up into these areas if you want. It'll all work out eventually. Look how that pushes everything back. That's one of the best parts of this drawing. I do like doing that. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw in one of the windows and use my pencil. Block it in. That's really all I need to do. Draw in the drain pipe. Just make sure you get the shape right. That's the edge of the house. Probably need to come over there a bit more with the white actually. Right, again, drawing in this side. Blocking in the light. Sorry, the window. Alright, just making sure it's the right shape. Now, I've gone up a bit too high there so it doesn't look right. So I'm just going to go over the top of it with my pastel and shape it with my pastel. Same as I'm shaping both these corners, or edges I should say. Okay. Now there are occasions where it would be advisable to use a pencil. And I'm coming up to one of them occasions. But that all depends on how much detail you want. Okay, so this is the dark side of the house. You can use the dark side of your house to draw into this bush, negatively draw, to shape that bush. Okay. A slight piece there that I just want to get rid of, so I'll just add that in like that, and I can just erase it with my blender if I need to. So look, we're getting some shape there now. Okay, using the blender to draw the detail. Mixing, blending, refining. Blenders are worth their weight in gold. In fact, like a pencil in some ways. So I'm just going to draw the window there. And the window here. Now you notice that window there, I had to be very careful not to draw into this bush. Now if I had have done, that's fine because I could have gone over the top of it again. But where I don't need to, I don't want to. So, okay, there's a little bit of a jutting out part there. Just indicate it. Same as you can draw the edge of this part of the house. It still needs to be fatter. Kind of keep raising that, and shouldn't. Just drawing a piece. This isn't the exceptionally detailed part, so well, none of it is really. So I can just use my pencil to shape what I want. Okay. Drawing details where I want them. Make it darker on this side. Now watch this. This will be nice when I do this. Watch how I bring this to life by just drawing highlights over the top. All of a sudden, there's some life going on there. Now it must be said that this side of the house is too dark, so you just skim over a little piece of white. And then just blend that in gently, very gently, just to lighten it up a touch. There's your window, there's your detail. You can make that as light or as dark as you want. I will probably lighten that up off camera. This needs to be the light side. Keep touching, fiddling. I know people tell you not to fiddle, or sometimes you have to. if you want this length, this depth of detail. Okay. So I will get to a point where I will use a pencil, because there's a jutting out part there, just to shape this pastel, just to shape it. The jutting out part there and here, and I can use my pencil just to refine these darks. Okay. Just make sure wherever you have a dark, you have a light next to it, or a light and a dark. That's it. Okay. Right, now I can just refine these by just keep working at them. Okay. Now, there's a little area here. This roof doesn't look great. So we just need to straighten it up. We can do that by putting a highlight of the tree above it. Okay, and then just drawing with our blender. Okay, and also I need to add in a little bit more light here to get the roof showing up, because that's on the light side. Same with the chimneys, get that on the light side. Okay, and use your blenders to shape things. Or your colour shapers, I should say. Well, there we go, that's where the word comes from. So it's like using a pencil with the colour already on the page. Use your colour shapers to shape things. Okay. And then you just have to kind of keep working at it until you're happy. Okay, now it'll take me a while to be happy, has to be said, and this is just basics. So always make sure whatever you do, you have a light against a dark. That's the most important thing. And then just refine it all. Bring it into line with everything. Okay. You can see that the bush goes down here, whatever bush that was. Slightly different green. Probably change that actually. Let's mix it with a little bit of this green. Or yellow green, I should say. Right, I'm using this dark area to get in the nice areas of dark lightness from the trees. Stippling. Okay, and you can just dab and shape things. Get your dark areas in the trees. Just shape it like that. Okay. Case of adding colour up until the point where you believe that you have to do more than just add a bit of colour, if that makes sense. You're going to have to sort of shape things. Down this edge I just need to come a little bit whiter, in my opinion, just to show it's the light side. Okay, and again I can just use this pencil just to top the brick wall. Quite dark there, and quite dark all the way along here. I'll use my pencil, put some darkness into these trees here, or bushes I should say. Making sure I do it on the dark side obviously, and then just dab in some leaves like this. Okay, shaping this roof here, another roof there. When we add in the lights, all that will separate. Right, okay, that is there. This is the detail part. That will be the edge of that piece of the conservatory that's on it. And then there's a smaller, I don't know if that's a shed or summer house or whatever it is. So we just separate that by the dark and light. Okay, and put the darkness in there. The only things we need shining through there are the things that are standing out. Okay, I'll just draw in this window. Make sure that I've got this correct. Lighthouse is actually in front of that, so I just need to reinforce that there. Okay. It all looks very drab and very dark at the moment, but I'll give you a quick taster of how you're going to push things back. This is just by putting lights on, stippling. You can see how already that has pushed and separated them houses. So you've got a house, a bush, and then this house in the front here. And all you need to do after you've done that is to tidy it up, really. Use different colours, tidy it up, and it will all make sense. Okay, so I just need to now just put in the edge of this conservatory or whatever it is. Add a little bit of blue to it because it's the shadow side. And then just use a blender. I lost my rubber shaper again, haven't I? They're much better for this. Soft pastels. Just, you can use these to just draw the colour and draw the shapes. There we go. You can just use it to put shadow parts into your trees. And use my pencil here to just add a little bit of dark into this tree. Have it coming out over here. Have it really dark here. Okay. And then just to make it not look blotchy, you just basically put in your highlights over the top. Now this needs a lot more refining, as I'm sure you can see. Now I will keep refining this, adding colour, tidying it up, cleaning it up, brightening it up. Okay, and then I'm going to come back to you after I've done that. Okay, until that point, just get your dark or your mid values on, get your darkness into that to darken up their mid values, and then add on all your highlights. Okay, now I'm going to work on this off camera now. I kind of think I've given you the way forward. And yeah, don't forget that you just need to use different colours in these trees. Don't use the same yellow all the way through because it's just not going to help. Use different colours because that will give it life and form. And don't be frightened to press a little bit harder sometimes because that will also give you some highlights that you wouldn't normally get. This is all looking very messy. It's no more than I'd expect. Probably a little bit messier than if I was using a more expensive pastel. But you can see this is a good start. And I hope this is going really well for you. Okay, so ooh. Oh, look, I've got pastel on my face, lovely. So yeah, I mean you can see what I'm working from. I'm just sort of working from a photograph that I took many years ago. So kind of wish I'd chosen a different picture, if I'm being perfectly honest. However, this has got challenges. It's a simple picture, but it's got challenges. It's in pastel, it's quite a hard one to do, and especially with big chunky pastels. I mean, I've done this many times, and I will post on a picture of probably the first one I did, which was in a circle, and you'll see, hopefully you'll see in that picture where I've actually made the things that I'm doing now, if that makes sense. Okay, so I've got pastel all over me. Anyway, whomever you are and wherever you are, please have a great day, and I'll catch up with you in the next video, and we'll just plod forward with this. I think we'll just get a picture. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be the best picture in the world, because it isn't, but it's giving you the idea, which is what I'm here for, and I'm showing you the struggles and the ideas, and you'll have a presentable picture. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be perfect, because mine is going to be far from perfect. I can do much better than this, but you know, happens sometimes to the best of us. Have a great day, and whomever, wherever you are, look after yourselves. Bye.